Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Annie News, and we are checking out who is Quetzalcoatl. I think I pronounced that right. And how strong is she? I had no idea who she was, and she seemed so freaking powerful at points. Like, she was so strong, and I just don't get it. Like, who is she and why is she that powerful? Let's check it out.
Episode 18 of Bait Grand Order Babylonia was nothing short of a visual masterpiece, with much of the stellar animation being attributed to Quetzalcoatl's noble phantasms. Of course, if you're not familiar with the game, then everything she did likely didn't make much sense.
Nope.
Like, how
still
was
super
she
cool
able
though, yeah.
to attack Tiamat with what was pretty much the sun itself? And how was she able to replicate the impact of the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs?
Yeah, that was a weird one as well.
As all things are in the Fate universe, everything is tied to a deeper mythology.
Right.
The quick version is that she's pretty much a literal alien turned god.
Oh.
But there's definitely more to it than just that. And although it may not make much sense now, I promise that by the end of this video you'll have a better understanding on who Quetzalcoatl is and why she's so damn strong.
Alright.
Seriously. Bringing Tiamat to her knees is quite a big deal.
Well, yeah,
so
it was, wasn't it, at the time?
Let's start with her origins, then move on to her abilities and noble phantasms. Let's begin.
The show got so crazy at the end.
Much like Merlin, Quetzalcoatl's historical mythology isn't one that can be narrowed down to a singular origin.
Right.
From this deity's earliest conception in literally the 1st century, all the way to where we are now, this Mesoamerican figure of worship has numerous variations to its story. Reason being that changes in culture over time result in different interpretations of beings like Quetzalcoatl to emerge along with it.
Right.
This means that there's no single official myth for him. But before I simply give you the Fate version, I can at least try to present a general overview
A rough
as to who this
kind
one
of history
was.
on,
At its core, Quetzalcoatl refers to a feathered serpent, imagined as a mix of bird and snake. The name is a combination of the emerald feathered bird Quetzal and the serpent Coatl.
Oh, there we go.
He was considered to be a god of agriculture, winds, and rain.
Right.
To the Toltec, he became an existence that was closely associated with Venus, becoming a symbol related to death and resurrection. Finally, he would become a highly central god to the Aztec culture, one that would be mentioned in many myths of creation as the son of a primordial god. You see, before there was anything, there was simply a void in the rest of the universe. From this void, the first god would create itself, and it would later give birth to 4 children, each of whom would preside over one of the 4 cardinal directions. Quetzalcoatl's domain was the east.
Oh, well, that's a big deal.
The south was the god of war, the west was the god of gold, farming in spring, and the north was the god of judgment, night, and
so Quetzalcoatl's a big deal from the beginning, Jesus.
Was that in order to create something, they first had to destroy. And through this cycle of creation and destruction, eventually came the earth. But the Earth created back then is not the Earth we know today.
Of course,
it
has to be...
Legend, the world had been destroyed 4 times over before finally being recreated through Quetzalcoatl's own blood.
Oh,
the first world
so that would make sense as to why she's able to do that attack then, right?
To exist, a sun needed to be formed. So Tezcatlipoca turned himself into the sun.
Oh.
However, being the god of night meant that his brightness wasn't ever quite enough. Quetzalcoatl grew dissatisfied with his brother's meager performance, and over time their rivalry would grow. Eventually, Quetzalcoatl couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to knock his brother out of the sky with a stone club, leaving his people in a world of complete darkness.
What?
Because of this, the world was no longer to his liking, so Tezcatlipoca ordered his jaguars to eat all of the people. Quetzalcoatl would become the next sun for a new group of people created by the gods. But because Quetzal was a god of mercy, he never really demanded much from them. Over time, these people would grow to become less and less civilized, even forgetting to worship the very gods who created them. This didn't sit too well with Tezcatlipoca, and as the god of judgment, he deemed them unsuitable to be humans. So he would use his power to turn Quetzalcoatl's people into monkeys. The thing is, Quetzal loved his people, even as flawed as they were.
Oh my god, it's such a weird story.
When he saw that they were no longer what made them special, he wiped them all out with a mighty hurricane, then let the next god become the sun.
Oh my god.
2 more gods would try and inevitably fail at being the sun for their world. By the 5th, Quetzalcoatl could no longer accept the destruction of his people. So he went to the underworld and stole their souls, then resurrected them into a brand new world using his own blood. With this second chance, Quetzal's people now knew that they had to fear the power of the gods. They began to continuously offer human and blood sacrifices in order to appease them. Of course, Quetzalcoatl didn't really approve of this. But his people knew that if those sacrifices stopped, then the fifth sun would go dark and their existence would end.
And they'd cease,
This
yeah.
is how Quetzalcoatl became known to be a god of creation. And I believe that it's this story that was used to influence his fate version the most.
Right.
So, now that the myth has made it all the way to present day, that means that we're lucky enough to see this prominent figure become one of our waifus in the Nasuverse interpretation of him.
Yeah.
It's one that doesn't go very deep like how Saber's or Gilgamesh's does,
Mm.
but it does broaden the scope as to what a heroic spirit can be. So, let's take a look at how exactly Quetzalcoatl evolved into this lucha libre-loving goddess of peace. First, we need to go back tens of millions of years.
Of course.
Back to a time when dinosaurs still walked the earth. In an area known as the Yucatan Peninsula,
Yucatan
a meteorite could be seen plummeting
Peninsula.
towards the planet. The eventual impact of this space rock would result in a mass extinction event of the dinosaurs, paving the way for a new form of life to become the dominant species on the planet. Unbeknownst to many, this astronomical object was the host to a form of microorganism from a far and ancient universe.
Of course it was.
It wasn't an invasive species, though. It was more so just a being that was adrift in space. Only after it had coincidentally found its way to Earth did this bacteria start to infect the land.
Right.
Similar to a parasite, the bacteria would infect a host, then take complete control over its body, almost as if it was possessing it. At first, they would simply possess animals, but as time went on, they began to find humans to be an even more suitable host.
Interesting.
These possessed humans would demonstrate a power far beyond what was considered normal. As a result, the people of this time began to elevate these possessed humans to the rank of gods.
Gods, right, okay, right,
worshipping
that makes
them as
sense.
superior beings worthy of ruling over humanity.
You would see them as that one,
The
yeah.
collective unconscious of mankind, better known as Gaia, or the world itself, witnessed this
Zawato.
alien species rise above the rest. So Gaia deemed them worthy of possessing administrative privileges over the world, granting them a power known as authority. Just like how she gave these privileges to the Greek, Norse, and Mesopotamian gods, so too did these Mesoamerican gods now have the right to manipulate the world. Depending on the type of authority you had, this could include anything from the control or creation of certain elements to the manipulation of time itself.
Damn.
For example, let's say that you were declared the god of fire.
Okay.
Then your domain would be fire and you did now have authority over it.
Yes.
What this meant is that, regardless of your circumstances, you could now do whatever you wanted
Anything
with fire.
with fire.
Create
Yeah.
it, extinguish it, make it jump through hoops, whatever you wanted. Essentially, you were given the rights to bypass and
Bored
override
today.
any
Grab me a
law of the
hoop.
world that pertained to fire. So, these alien bacteria who then became ruling
That's from
leaders
Cells at
over
Work, wasn't it?
humanity were now classified by Gaia as beings equal to the gods. By right, they are divine spirits. Two of these bacteria who we know became gods are Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca.
Right.
Quetzalcoatl was the goddess of the sun and all that is good, giving her authority over those two aspects. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that implies that she could spawn a literal sun if she wanted
That
to.
kind of.
But anyway,
Yeah, it makes sense. That's why she was doing what she.
originally
Yeah, okay.
Quetzalcoatl was a very righteous god to his people. Similar to his actual myth, he loved humanity for what it was. So he deemed human sacrifices to be unnecessary,
Yeah,
unlike Tezcatlipoca.
Get them out.
But this merciful approach to ruling over his people began to anger Tez. Eventually, Quetzal would incur Tez's wrath, and the two would engage in a fight that Quetzal would
Whoa.
inevitably lose. The shame that this defeat brought caused Quetzal to flee to Venus. He abandoned his Aztec.
To space.
The only thing they could do was prophesize of the one day that he would return. Some Aztec believed that his return was when the Spanish invaded. They thought it was Quetzalcoatl's will to have the Aztec people be wiped out.
Oh, what?
Whether that was the case or not, we know that he did in fact return, jumping between human hosts until eventually reaching the female form that we see in the anime.
Oh.
However, she didn't return to rule. Instead, she foresaw that humanity could rise up on their own to become a great civilization. She wanted nothing more than to be able to see the people she loved thrive. So, in order to make that happen, she and the other gods retreated to the jungle and halted all interactions that they had with humanity.
Huh.
It was the first step needed to
I
allow
love that bit where they just kept
humanity to
walking past the
become
jaguar
independent
person.
from the Mesoamerican age of gods. Quetzalcoatl would spend the rest of her time monitoring humanity from a distance, dreaming of that one day where she can bear witness to this vision of humanity becoming a prosperous species. Now, gods are divine spirits that aren't typically recorded in the Throne of Heroes, but Mesoamerican gods are an exception. They're a unique case of divine spirit that can be summoned normally as servants to the Holy Grail. Reason being that their human hosts along with the bacteria infecting them are recorded into the throne.
Right.
They're an existence known as Bunare,
Bunare.
essentially a clone or copy of a divine spirit from a particular point in time. The Quetzalcoatl we see in the anime is the Quetzalcoatl as she was while possessing that human. It's the version of her that was recorded into the Throne of Heroes. And unless there's another recording of her while she was possessing a different human, then this would be the version of her that's always summoned.
Right, okay.
Anyway, that's pretty much all there is about her lore and origins.
The Throne of Heroes.
Now let's take a look at what exactly we saw in episode 18. The power that brought Tiamat.
It did look cool, but as this went on, these episodes, it wound me up. Too much going on.
Quetzalcoatl's true power. If you recall back in episode 14, her divinity was cut by more than half because Merlin decided to be a troll.
Yeah,
Still, her noble phantasms are quite clearly very powerful, even with the handicap. But before we dive deeper into those, let's first talk about her skills and abilities. As a rider class servant, riding is naturally one of her class skills, giving her the ability to operate all vehicles.
Do you know, I didn't clock on to what class she was.
This also includes a wide array of dragons because she is also considered to be a goddess of dragons.
I never thought of
Other
that,
basic
of
skills
course.
include
Like...
a high level of magic resistance and a natural talent to command people via her charisma. A standard skill for anyone who has had experience ruling over others. A more unique ability is her goddess's divine core. This represents the perfection of being a goddess since birth. It preserves both Quetzalcoatl's mind
She
and
was
body
so cool,
completely,
like...
nullifying any mental interferences and preventing the body from aging and changing.
I hated those
In
things,
a similar
man.
vein, she also has what's called Good God's Wisdom.
Good
A skill that
God's
stems
wisdom.
from having shared wisdom with many people. I mean, Quetzalcoatl was known for blessing others with the knowledge of agriculture and fire. She taught her people many things to help them advance. And because of that, she now possesses the very powerful skill of Good God's Wisdom. What it does is allow her to use any skill that isn't characteristic to a single person with a very high level
Whoa,
of
it's a
efficiency.
lot of stuff.
Not only that, but she can also give others the ability to use that skill as well. And they don't even have to be servants. If she wanted, Quetzalcoatl could give Fujimaru skills that other servants possess that under normal circumstances wouldn't be possible for him to use.
Why didn't
It's
she
a very, very powerful
do
skill,
that?
but
That would have
also
been
requires
very,
a lot of magical
very
energy
happy.
to use. Finally, Quetzalcoatl has what's called free wrestling. This is simply her love for lucha libre manifesting itself as a skill. Now, you might be
Free
wondering
wrestling,
how exactly did she
rather
get
than the one you pay
opportunity to
for.
witness professional wrestling. Well, apparently she was summoned into an age where she could watch it. That's about as much as we know. The reason she liked it so much
Loose
was because of
storytelling.
how these wrestlers flew through the air as if they had wings. It was a spectacle so breathtaking that it heavily appealed
She got summoned
to
to a
the
time
side
when she
of
saw
the
wrestling, and then she's like,
It
you know what? Oh, I like
a
that. Let's fight like
curiosity
that.
in turn manifested itself
Makes
in her
sense though, bloody
personality,
hell. She does fight like
giving
that.
her a persona resembling that of a luchadora. It was such a deeply rooted passion that she even goes so far as to re-establish the foundations of one of her noble phantasms, making it more wrestling-oriented.
Yeah?
And you'll
That's
see
cool.
exactly how really soon. So,
I'm gonna
what
die.
are her noble phantasms?
Bang.
I suppose the best to start off with would be the one that classifies her into the rider class. Quetzalcoatl, the Winged Serpent. An ability that summons one of the largest known
It makes so much
flying
sense because she's
animals
constantly
ever.
riding that. Yeah, so,
It's a pterosaur from the
so
Jurassic
stupid.
Age whose name derives from Quetzalcoatl herself. However, the one that she summons aren't your average everyday Quetzalcoatlists from the Cretaceous period. No, these Quetzalcoatlists are a phantasmal species.
Quetzalcoatlists.
They're divine beasts far more powerful than their prehistoric counterparts. Just as their master has authority over lightning, winds, and rain, they too have the ability to manipulate these aspects of the world.
Whoa.
So, the winged dinosaurs that we see everyone riding in Babylonia are in fact a noble phantasm attributed to Quetzalcoatl.
Oh, that's cool.
Her next noble
Bloody hell.
phantasm was the one that she first used on Tiamat, better known as Piedra del Sol. the
Piedra
Sunstone.
del Sol,
In
that sounds
episode 11,
cool.
It was the monolith that we saw at the top of her temple of worship. But back during the era of the Aztecs, it was a megalith that allowed
Whoa,
them
that
to
looks
observe
cool.
the past and the future. Whether it still has the ability to do that or not is unclear. But what we do know is that, as Quetzalcoatl's primary symbol of worship, it provides her with a significant portion of her divinity, and subsequently her power. As a goddess of the sun, calling this noble phantasm's true name opens up a gate that releases a portion of her authority.
It looks so
that
cool.
being the authority of the
Zoom.
sun. It allows her to unleash these solar winds over a large area that proceed to scorch everything in its path, almost as if she was burning the area with the sun itself. When we see her use it on Tiamat, the ability was so strong that not only did it burn away a majority of Tiamat's mud, but it also turned the ground into molten lava.
That was so
Obviously,
good.
it's a bit more useful
Does look
for taking
amazing,
a large
like.
number of enemies. I mean, it is thought to have enough power to completely vaporize Uruk on impact. But if she wanted to focus on a single target, then
What
her
was
third
with that
level
axe,
phantasm
man?
would be better. This one is called Ziukoto, Flame, Burn Even Gods to Ashes. The
Damn.
name itself is very fitting, because it's meant to represent a weapon of the sun. For Quetzalcoatl, it's a noble phantasm that symbolizes the conflict between herself and Tezcatlipoca. You see, after being beaten in the fight and before leaving for Venus, Quetzalcoatl decided to burn down her own temple. She would much rather see it in ashes than allow Tezcatlipoca to gain the treasures
Oh,
itself.
damn.
So, it's this grand spectacle of a temple on fire that was the inspiration for this noble phantasm. Initially, it would simply involve flames surrounding and enveloping the target. Within these flames, enemies would be prevented from unleashing their noble phantasm's true aim. However, after Quetzalcoatl's slight addiction to wrestling, she decided to modify it a bit, changing it into something closer associated to her passion. And honestly, it seems a lot more powerful with these new changes. Her modifications led to two potential ways in which this noble phantasm could be used. The first is a literal pile driver from space. Of course,
Which is
it wouldn't be one of her
insane.
noble phantasms if the target wasn't completely enveloped in flames as well. So basically what happens is, Quetzalcoatl grabs her opponent, tosses them into the sky, then jumps and grabs them mid-air and proceeds to slam them headfirst into the ground.
Whoa.
This obviously wasn't what happened to Tiamat.
No, of course
But
not. Tiamat's
we do
far
get to
too
see a classic
huge
pile
to
driver
do
in
that
episode
to.
11. Tiamat got hit with what I would consider to be the stronger variation to this noble phantasm. As great as it would have been to see Tiamat get pile drivered straight to the underworld,
Yeah.
it was pretty hyped to see the reenactment of a mass extinction event. Normally, Quetzalcoatl would just jump thousands of meters into the air and fall from space to dropkick an enemy with as much force as she could, and
Yo.
of course all while being surrounded by her flames. But the variant that we saw in the anime was significantly stronger. Before jumping into space, she first absorbed all the power output from Pietro del Sol.
My
This
God.
allowed her to enhance Ziukoatl to the point where it would have an effect similar to a meteorite's impact, striking an enemy with the same power that once annihilated most life on Earth.
Yeah.
Just as
She
how
says,
was
give me the
brought
power
to
that
Earth by
wiped out the
meteorite,
dinosaurs,
she
doesn't
can
she?
replicate its power and impact by combining her noble phantasms together, resulting in the ultimate ability that she personally refers to as
So cool.
That episode was just too great not to do the circuit profile. But yeah, that's pretty much everything about her lore and power. Quetzalcoatl truly is a kind and passionate god. It's her dream to witness humanity open up the path to an era where all could be happy. And she'll do whatever it takes to help humanity reach that goal. Sure, she may seem ruthless at times, but it's a rage that is only ever directed towards those who don't value life. As a god who refused human sacrifices due to her love for humanity, she won't hesitate to end any person who would be considered humanity's enemy. She'll put on a very devious smile when fighting these types of people. It's a distinct face that's meant to show her distaste towards them. All in all, she's definitely one of the more kind-hearted divine spirits, always putting on a shining and sympathetic disposition as if she was the sun herself. That's just how she is.
Aww.
And not even being summoned with the purpose of destroying humanity could change that. Anyway, since Ishtar won the previous poll, I suppose that she'll be the servant that I cover next. Also, if you haven't already, then be sure to check out my Merlin and Gilgamesh profiles as well. Now, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time,
Ciao. Cool. So we've already checked out Merlin and we've already checked out Gilgamesh. We shall check out Ishtar. And then he's done all the noble phantasms explained, which will be cool. I think that's all the Fate Grand Order videos, man. Like, all that wait, and then I binged the whole thing, and then it's nearly over. But that was boss. That was really cool. Learn things, man, every time I watch these. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you want to already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. All you guys next time.